Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Welcome, everybody, to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. And boy, do I have some good news for you today. I can actually see my driveway, folks. The snow has melted enough to where I can see concrete, asphalt, and I can see the dirt. This is pretty late in the game, April 20th here. But I'll take it as good news because I still have about 3 feet of snow left around my house and about maybe a foot or so on my RV that I need to melt before I take my month-long RV trip around Alaska with my family. So I want to thank everybody that listens, watches, and reads Must Read Alaska. We're very grateful for you to do that. And folks out there always ask, how do I help keep the lights on? Well, you just go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side there's a little donate button. Click on that. We survive off of $5, $10, $100 donations at a time. We're not funded by some nonprofit dark web money conglomerate. We're just funded by everyday folks who care about news in Alaska. And so we want to thank folks that already do that. We really, really appreciate it. We also want to thank our show sponsor. We have a brand new show sponsor this month, the University of Alaska. You can learn more about them at empower.alaska.edu. Go check them out. I want to encourage folks to go do that. We really, really want to thank them for sponsoring the Must Read Alaska Show. It's very special to us. But without further ado, I have a returning guest. This guest is a expert in what I call generating income, generating wealth, running successful businesses. Him and his wife have both started, and been very successful running multi-million dollar businesses. He's such a great guy. He has his own book out called True Wealth Formula. And Hans, welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show.
Hey, John, it's awesome to be back. I love hearing about Alaska. I think Alaska is incredible.
Yeah, it's like the last frontier, and it's only for not everybody can stomach it. Not for the main reason of 7 months worth of a hardcore winter. But luckily, my wife's born and raised here, and she doesn't mind that kind of stuff. So, how is it in your neck of the woods?
Oh man, we've had here in Texas. I'm a bit outside of San Antonio in the Texas Hill Country, and the last 2 years we had some really severe winters. We had the Snowmageddon event of 2021, and then last year we had some good freezes. We had a freeze or two this year, but we got an early spring this year. We've had nothing but just awesome weather since February, and we've had a lot of rain. There's flowers everywhere. It's like Alice in Wonderland out here right now. It's
awesome. So Hans, you and your wife have created many successful, very, very successful businesses where it's taken you all around the world to speak in front of thousands and thousands of people. You've gotten to know probably every sort of type of personality there is out there. In your opinion, does money make somebody happy?
Man, that's a really good question. So I grew up, really poor in a classic American, typical, family, broken family household, single mom, had didn't grow up with a father, was started my first business at 8 years old, picking flowers. I'd come home from school and pick these plumeria flowers off the trees and go downtown and sell them to the tourists, sell these necklaces basically that they call leis out there. This was in Kona, Hawaii, on the Big Island. And basically that was just to get like school clothes and if I had a little bit of extra money, I'd go play a video game or do something like that. So I learned really early on that if you don't work, you don't eat. And also that work was a good thing because it was like, wow, okay, if I want something, I can go work and do it. I've done other jobs, did a lot of landscaping work, did all kinds of things. But as far as does money make you happiness, I remember when I was 12 years old, because I slept in this box spring mattress out on this porch, basically, not even a bedroom. And we were moving every couple months. I didn't know where we were going to be. And I remember at 12 was the first time I was like, man, I want to be a millionaire someday. That would be so great, you know? So yeah, there are some studies out there. Actually, it's really interesting. I did talk about this in my book, True Wealth Formula. It's available on Amazon. It's the only place that we sell it. And there's been some interesting studies out there. Obviously, it's relative. If you live in a big city like New York or San Francisco or LA, you know, and you make less than 100,000 a year, you're really struggling. You know, other places you could do less than that, but there's this figure that's around the $70,000, $75,000 a year mark. Now, granted, that's not going to apply to certain cities, but there's some interesting studies that say that money does buy happiness, but with very diminishing returns. So what happens is there's this curve that happens where you get to a point where you're living in a, you know, basically a decent place, and you have a transportation, and you can eat out once in a while. And people think, well, if I just get more, I'll be happier. But that's not always the case. So we could talk more about that if you want, but it's an interesting study. So
I like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have this course out. You have a book, very successful book, and you kind of have this course that goes alongside of this book. Talk to us about this course, because what we're going to do is we're going to do something special here on the show. And for folks that listen to this podcast, if they like, comment, share, or tag a friend on this post, on this Facebook post, or Twitter post, or Instagram post, we're going to pick a handful of folks to get a free trial with your course. You have a course that specifically teaches somebody how to kind of get wealth, maintain wealth, grow wealth. Talk to me about this course.
Yeah, you bet. So we have the book, we have the course, and then we also have the software now, the Wealth Builder app. So there's kind of like a trifecta there. So the backstory on it is that growing up in Hawaii, I had a martial arts instructor named Damien who was a multimillionaire in real estate. And he told me, he said, the key to wealth is to get your money working for you instead of you working for your money. And I was a teenager when I first learned that statement. I thought, wow, that's really cool. And I must have wrote it down or something. I really embedded it in my head. And then I got married and had kids at a very young age. And we, like, as you said, we had businesses that we were running and doing all this stuff. And you get kind of caught up in life. And along the way, I started to think more and more about that. And so it kind of became this riddle. And the course, as well as the software and the book, is all about how to actually apply that, how to actually implement it. In fact, the course is called True Wealth Formula Implementation Program. So what I discovered along the way was that there's a very powerful money management system that uses ratio-based money management versus what we learn in school and what we learn from all the experts on the radio and whatnot is, you know, put $100 in an envelope for this thing and X amount into this. And we have these different budgeting things. And I kind of discovered this in my business career. I would sit down with accountants and they would just confuse the hell out of me. I didn't go to college, didn't grow up on the streets, didn't understand the numbers. I said, well, you know what I understand is cash flow. And I understand cash, that's real. So I, you know, developed a system to essentially segment things by ratios. And what's cool about ratios is if you learn how to manage money, all the way from the budgeting side to the investing side, if you learn it, if you learn the system and the framework that's ratio based, it's perfect. It's totally scalable. A teenage kid can use it all the way up to a Fortune 500 CEO or CFO. And so, in fact, that's how you manage businesses, through ratios. You don't manage it through dollars and cents. So, you know, so we developed this, and really it became a system of, and it is today, and we've helped thousands of people essentially. So in that statement, get your money working for you instead of you working for your money. The money that I'm working for, we call earned income. It's, you know, it's your job. It's a salary, it's commissions, it's bonuses, it's tips, wages, that type of thing, W-2 type stuff. Maybe 1099 gig economy type stuff. If I don't show up for work, I don't get paid. And we know that, you know, the wealthy, that's not where their income comes from. It comes from assets. It comes from their balance sheet. So the course and the program and the system, True Wealth Formula, is basically all about converting earned income into unearned income, the money that works for me, and really getting it compounding. And people struggle with that unless there's an actual system. So there's too much information out there. There's not enough actual proven systems and frameworks. If you do X, you get Y. So that's sort of kind of how it's set up.
Nice. Why do you think, over the years you've gotten to talk to thousands of people about improving their lives? Why do you think it's so hard for some folks to talk about money and to want to make changes in that kind of aspect of their life?
It's such a good question, John. A lot of it is there's a lot of aspects to it, but I will say that the largest impact on all of us is our influence, is our the world we live in, our modern society. You can read all the books you want. You can, go to seminars and do classes. You can, in some cases, now there's an exception. People that grow up in a certain family environment that where they sort of are programmed to do the right thing, and it's just part of their DNA. They tend to have an easier time. But most people didn't grow up in it doesn't just mean it's a wealthy family. It doesn't have to be a rich family or anything like that. So, but we just live in a society. Our global economy is a debt-based economy. It absolutely depends on an ever-expanding debt base. It is not a production-based economy, and that changed back in 1971. And there's other timeframes and whatnot. But it's just accelerated even prior to that. Coming out of World War II, you had the whole credit system develop, credit cards, people buying on credit. And so the entire system is, and so if I have credit and if I can use debt to get what I want today, what it does, it creates that feedback loop that basically reinforces, hey, why should I save? Why should I take risk? Why should I invest money or do these other things when I can just make a payment? And in fact, all of the financial planners out there will just say, well, can you afford the payments? The banks, that's all they do when they calculate information. Can you afford the payments? What's your credit score? So we're essentially born into this system to be a debt slave. And the system needs it needs people to comply. So it's just everything. You got billions of dollars in advertising that's telling us you're not good enough as you are unless you spend X, or unless you look like this, or unless you're, reflecting this status through how you dress, and, on and on and on it goes. So
what do you think about the current state of our economy? Somebody could turn on the news today and it's doom and gloom, and you might as well think that there's Armageddon out there. What do you think of the current state of our economy? Are we in a good place, bad place, mediocre place? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll just disclose. I mean, I'm always a little bit kind of bearish because I do lean sort of kind of like, hey, just bootstrap it, work hard. I do kind of carry some of those old school values. And so I mean, right now you got the yield curve inversion. You've got, the fastest pace of interest rates ever. The market right now, stock market, is just sort of kind of levitating. I sit there and I look at it and I'm just like, my God, we really haven't had a capitulation moment yet. There is an event that's coming that is based on the economy, that is a real recessionary, event. And yet right now, what's driving things is sort of this argument: are we going to have a soft landing or a hard landing? And a lot of people are betting on this hard landing. We have more information than we've ever had before, so people are sort of kind of expecting it. And the economy looks like it structurally has some major problems. But then I go out and I eat at these restaurants, and I've worked my whole life and saved and all this kind of thing, and I know how much I'm spending. I look across the table and I'm looking at these people all over the place, and they're just eating and they're young kids, and I'm like, where's the money coming from? And so we scratch our heads, and it's like, okay, we're in this weird world right now, and so I don't know. I always try to position for both, but I'm kind of waiting for the shoe to drop on things.
Do you think we lived in or do you think now the people have gotten softer, meaning, when you grew up, when I grew up, maybe, I had a job too when I was a kid, and I worked my butt off, and those kinds of things, values were instilled in me. Today we have, kids that are used to getting COVID checks every 6 months from the government and those
Yeah.
kind of things. Do you think that that's going to be a detriment to this group of folks that are kind of coming up and just starting in the workforce?
Yes, because the biggest, and we know this from the ancient writings, various texts, that the biggest thing impact on your world is your environment. And so, and society is a huge environment. And so people conform to social norms and peer pressures or whatever's trending at the time. There's some other reasons too that we could talk about. I think we might have done it the last time we were on. Coming out of the global financial crisis, our here in the West, in the US and other places, we went into full-blown what I call crony capitalism mode, where the too big to fails were being bailed out. And you had a whole generation that really you had the slowest economic recovery ever after that event. And you had a whole bunch of people that just sort of kind of said, you know what, it's not worth it, and kind of checked out. And I think people have to want to work, and they have to view work as good. And we're in this weird place where people, you're talking about UBI and stuff like that, universal basic income, and that society's going to need that, and with all the stuff that's going on with AI and technology and whatnot. But then there's the issue of, okay, what about self-esteem? What about personal value? What about the feeling that we know is good when you accomplish something, you do something good? And we also know throughout history, not recent history, throughout forever history, there's seasons in life. There's good times and there's bad times. And the whole reason why you work is because it's not always going to be good. Yeah. And all we have to do is watch the seasons in a single year to see that. There's a reason why farmers plant in the spring and harvest in the fall, and they get ready for winter. It's not easy. Survival is not always been an easy thing. And yes, we are in a very soft I'm kind of hardcore. This is your platform, so I got to be a little careful here. But
you can be as hardcore as you want.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, we're in that cycle. We're soft. Society's soft, and when we sit here and we complain about government, we complain about all this stuff. And I always tell people, you get the government you deserve, not the one you need, or not the one you want. And so that's always a really hard swallow, because we have so much dissatisfaction and polarity out there right now, but we also have a population that doesn't want to grow up. And we have a population of children basically wanting to be governed, wanting to be, and I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. If you're looking to the federal government to solve your local problems, you're acting, that's the mindset and the programming of not an adult, because I'm looking to exert some force or power on some system outside of my zone of control to fix problems that are in my realm, that I have control over, that I'm not taking responsibility over. So I'm just kind of fundamentally like, I'm just not down with it, so, but that's the way it is. So
yeah, there seems to be this mantra of, people just are expecting stuff for free now, free education, free housing if they want it. And you and I both know that somebody's paying for that. It's not,
yeah,
ain't nothing free in this world. Somebody's paying for that. So
yeah, if you're not, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, what do you think about, I was trying to think back, and I remembered seeing a episode I believe your wife was in, called Secret Millionaire. And I remember seeing that thinking, man, these people really like giving back. Like I think that was like early on in the show, and it was probably super less produced than what it was on the next couple seasons. And it struck me as, you and your wife probably believe in giving back. Talk to me a little bit about why that's a big deal. Should folks be giving back, even if they don't have a lot? Let's say they're only making a couple $1,000 a month. Should they have a regular rhythm of giving back with their time, talent, and treasure to nonprofits they care about, their church, those kinds of things? Or should they just always be hoarding it, into their safe at the end of the day?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we set up our business to basically take 10% of the gross sales revenue, not profit, and give to a foundation that we set up called King's Ransom. And people still give to that today because we also then separately sponsored it with our corporate. We sponsored the overheads so that 100% of what was donated, because we weren't satisfied with some of the stuff out there. And you hear these reports often with some of the big organizations, I won't name names, that comes out and they do these campaigns and they raise money and then they don't use it for what they said, or the executives are flying around on private jets, and on and on and on it goes. So, but yeah, no, we are big believers in that. True Wealth Formula is set up to actually in the very first formula and ratio for budgeting that we teach people. There is a ratio in there for giving, and aside from the religious or the spiritual side of it, it's important because what it does is it helps us to see that no matter how bad our situation is, there's somebody else out there that has it worse. And a lot of success in life, whether it's the ability and the capacity to, generate income, to be successful. And let's just face it, money is important. There's two things in life: relationships and resources. And that's what True Wealth Formula is all about. But relationships is more important than money than resources, but you got to have the resources too. And we call that money in our world today. But it's very easy to sort of kind of get stuck into this mode I call the rich miserable bastard, where it's never never good enough, and more and more and more and more and more. And we're also programmed that way in our modern society to that bigger is better, more is better, everything's supersized. And so, but if I get caught in that RMB state, it's not a fun place to be. And it doesn't matter how much money you make, it doesn't matter how successful you are, you'll never have fulfillment. And so, you'll never have peace. And so yeah, get in the habit of giving, and even if it's just $1, even if it's just, and people do it sometimes when they're emotionally moved or compelled. But if you structure it and you make it part of a habit and a system, now it becomes part of who you are, and it becomes, you're not a dead end in the universe. You're not this like hoarding is a great way to describe it. So it's really about recognizing the cycles of life and the natural cycles, and things live and then they die, and then when we die we go back to the dust, and then we create food for the trees, and the plants, and it's just a cycle of life, and so giving is a part of that. We have to get in the habit of that, and be a blessing to others, and realize that there's always other people out there that are worse off than we are, no matter how much my struggle is. And I can tell you just so many clients that we've had that they started giving, they got these ratios dialed in right, these formulas set up, and then their financial world just exploded. So
that's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Hans, 30 minutes has went by in a flash.
Oh my God.
So any last minute thoughts here before we head out? Remember, folks, if you like, comment, share, take a friend in the Facebook post or the Twitter post or the Instagram post. We're going to pick a handful of folks to get a free trial for Hans's True Wealth Formula course. So you're not going to want to miss out on that. Hans, any last minute thoughts?
Well, I love that we get to do this once in a while. I appreciate you having me back on. And yeah, 30 minutes. Wow, it's so quick. I forgot the show that it was such so tight. But the key thing is we have a great program. It's at truewealthformula.com. We have one of our clients, Lenny, is if you go to that site, you can see his testimonial. This guy got started. He just celebrated his 3rd year. He got started when I did some videos when crazy COVID hit the fan, and and you got to hear his story. This guy is just so great. And he in 2 years took a $20,000 savings account to over 100 grand.
Wow.
His passive income now is over $1,000 a month, and he basically took the system that we have after it's like a 2 or 3 minute video, and then if you opt in, you can hear I do a full interview with Lenny, and he talks about how he used to be this terrible worker. He just showed up late, he called in sick, he hated working, and he just basically, and he had done all these different things, businesses, and tried different investing in businesses and whatnot, and but something about 12 Formula just clicked for him. And the guy's he's an amazing worker. He picks up overtime because he takes that money that he makes in overtime and he rolls it into his passive income and what we call automatic paychecks. And he's got that just compounding.
That's
And
awesome.
so anyway, it's just super cool. I love seeing that. I love seeing that transformation for people. Yeah, we're just having fun. We do onboarding. We have the app that helps people get all the numbers crunched out. And just fun stuff, man. Life's too short to be on the wrong side of the game. And so, I'm into master money, live free. And that's what we're about. Live free is an important part, but let's be the master, not the slave on the money side of things. So,
well, I appreciate you joining us, Hans, and we'll put those links into the podcast description. And we, again, for folks listening, like, comment, share, take a friend on this post, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We'll pick a handful of folks to get a free trial. And we also want to thank our show sponsor, the University of Alaska, for sponsoring the Must Read Alaska show. You can check them out at empower.alaska.edu for more information. Man, we can't thank them enough for sponsoring the Must Read Alaska show. And until next time, I'm John Quick from somewhere in Alaska. Thanks, Hans.
Thanks, man.